Wow. Welcome to the show. Thank you for listening. I hope you're in a good mood. I really do. And if you're not, hope this puts you in a good one. Welcome to Usually Wrong, episode number 51. This is with Kayleigh Dumas, so it's going to be a good one. Here are some dates if you'd like to come see comedy. Doing a show at the Youngstown Saxon Club. It's a big comedy event there. It's at 8 p.m. on February 16th. That's a Saturday. You can come see me very shortly after that. The Not So Secret Show, Alex DePula's Garage Show. That's Wednesday, February 20th. Got a show at the Erie Movie House, which is in Erie, Pennsylvania. That's Saturday, March 2nd. And I'm seeing for Jeremy Piven at the Pittsburgh Improv. That's March 22nd and March 23rd. And you can find all that at natenault.com. Or just listen to the intro to this podcast a lot of times. Just memorize all the dates and come to all of them. This is fun. I'm already having fun. This is with Kayleigh Dumas, who's been a very good friend of mine over the last 2 years doing comedy, and was very excited to have her on. It's been a long time coming that we've been meeting to do this episode, and I'm very happy you're going to listen to this. If you'd like to come see her do comedy, you can also come see me do comedy at the same Youngstown comedy event, again, Saturday, February 16th at 8 p.m. So, thanks for listening to this intro. That's all I have to say. Like the show. Subscribe to it, 5 stars. That would mean everything to me. It really would. I would love for you to do that. I really would. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Please enjoy. Usually Wrong, episode number 51 with Kayleigh Dumas.
When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that and forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You will be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living. That is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Let's just go. So if you can hold the microphone like right here,
right
that'd
here?
be great.
I
don't know if you've heard like every episode where I have to like coach
this is
people
good.
to.
This is fun.
Are you already having fun?
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
I'm very thrilled.
This has been a
here.
long time coming.
I know, and I like talking to you in general, so I was very excited.
I'm excited too. Yeah, and it's fun because you're one of those people that I probably started with the closest. Like, I'm close with you, but we started around the same time.
I always found that so funny when you said that. Because you would like Daniel would be like, oh, like Nate name dropped you on the podcast or whatever. And I was like so fascinated by it because I feel like I felt so appreciated that you're like, oh yeah, we're friends. But I was like, I feel like
really?
I felt like I was like, oh, you're like someone who's been around for a while. So I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like he thinks he knows me and stuff. And I was like, not like thinks he knows me, but I was like, oh my God, that's so cool.
But when did you start?
I started October of not 2018, 2017.
October.
Yeah, I like just
really?
popped up and you're like, hey, we're like the same class. I'm like, you said you've been doing it for like almost a year and a half.
I started doing it in February of that year.
Like, well,
that still is crazy.
Last year was 2018,
yeah.
right? Okay.
I've been doing it almost 2 years in February.
I've been doing it a year and a couple months.
It's fucking crazy.
A year.
I could have sworn I am on record on this podcast saying
multiple times
you and Dan Ferrer are the two that I started with.
Yeah, and that's why I was so curious. I was like, I don't know if I want to like confirm that at any point, but
just say it. I think it was because I talk about it on this too, but I look at the We Got Next guys and I look at the Race at the Coffin guys. I'm like, they had people to start with. Like they had a group of people. I look at the Pit Tonight people the same way. It's
I'm so jealous of them.
I was too. I was jealous of people to start with and to bounce ideas off of. It's more terrifying to go to an open mic alone and just twiddle your thumbs and then get up on stage. It's fucking terrifying.
It's terrifying, but I also think like it's kind of like suck it the fuck up. Like just do it. Like it stinks, and I think I did it, and you get so used to it because now I can go to like mics. Like I went to one in Connecticut just by myself.
Just you went.
Just went.
It's a matter of getting up and doing it. Like
you just do it.
I did that 2 times in New York too. I just went to an open mic. But you asked 4 years ago if that was happening. There was no chance that was happening.
But it's also good for it to do it yourself too a little bit, because then you have that weird odd 6 to 8 months thing where like you're used to just no one talking to you.
Correct.
So if you go to any other scene, you're used to no one talking to you.
Correct. Did you feel that coming in on the social end of the spectrum? Because I definitely did. Going to Ham Bones alone was a very intimidating thing.
Yeah.
How, in terms of mixing in with the social culture there, did you struggle with that at first?
I think I remember the first one I went to at Ham Bones, at least, because that's like the top tier of like being terrified, was Mike Saxon saw me. He was like, "You look real lost." I'm like, "I am."
Oh my God.
And he like took me and brought me to like I think it was like Claire, someone who hasn't come back out really in a while. And then I think it was Isaac and Lorenzo. He was like, God. "Here you go." And then like, obviously they still never talked to me again for like 6 months. But then that was the first people where I like started to really just annoy Isaac and Lorenzo. And
you started to annoy them?
Hated me very much. Lorenzo definitely did.
But why though? Is it like the new comic type of thing? Like coming in, but I shouldn't even say comic. That's that way with any type of friend group. If you're at a party and somebody just joins a conversation, you're like, that is a little bit
who are you?
Annoying. Was it that sort of thing?
I think eventually, like, I'm sure they have a very different like recollection of it, and I was like, I don't even.
It's way worse in your eyes.
Oh yeah, I was like, I'm sure he was like, you just kind of appeared and it was whatever. Like, but I don't know. Like, I didn't love not like having anyone talk to for like 6 months, but I also like, you know, I played so many sports and so many different teams where like no one really talked to me, and then I was in a sorority where like you have to like go through recruitment, and then like you're like the bottom of the barrel, so like being like the lowest totem pole is kind of like,
you get it.
I'm built that way, and then when you're on the top, you're like, oh, this is like nice, and then you like bring everyone kind of with you, or you let them chill there for a hot second, because you have to learn.
Yeah, like, that was gonna be my question to you too, because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
It took until I got a job in college that it was sales. I had to be confident. I had to make cold calls. I had to do everything. But before that, I don't think I was a very confident person. Until then was when I was like, I don't fucking care what anybody thinks about me, and that helped exactly right. And that helped comedy wise, and that helped kind of in the social scene too. So it was sports, that sort of stuff made you more confident with being at the lower end of the totem pole? I
think it made me more comfortable. Like, I've always been a weird, like, I came out of the womb confident, so like that's never been a real issue.
Yeah.
But it's more of like, I'm so used to like, everything has that. Like your job, like if you play sports, you go anywhere, like you can't just walk in, like you've seen comics who do it, walk in and you're like, I'm here, and you're like, you've done a mic and a half. Like, you need to go sit down and appreciate who's there. And I'm sure I still didn't do that correctly and stepped on toes and stuff. But like, there's something to be said about people who've been around like, you know, 2, 5, 6, 8 years ahead of you. Obviously, they don't want to talk to you, and like, that's not because you're a bad person. Just you're gonna be in those shoes one day, and like, if they do talk to you, then remember that.
Yes.
Like, and remember how nice that felt, and be that person to someone.
Absolutely. It's a rite of passage, though. It's the same way with actually telling the jokes on stage, not from a social perspective, but you have to tell bad jokes. You have to suck ass to eventually be half decent. Exactly. I mean, I remember some of the first open mics that I went to, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I remember some of them thinking, this is going to do so well, so great.
Oh my god!
And you fucking eat it, right? Like
every time, every time.
But it's I'm really interested in that kind of tier system in the social scene, and also in the actual art, the actual performing aspect of it too.
The actual the performing part, I think that part I don't understand, and I think that is something that like I don't think I want to understand really.
What do you mean?
Like, because I think like we've obviously been said like just be like so undeniably funny and like that's it.
Yes.
And we all know that's bullshit. That's not how that works. Like
Really?
obviously, well, you obviously have to be funny, but you also have to talk to the right people, go shake the right hands,
Yeah.
not step on toes, not do this, get a book or do that. Like it's a laundry list of stuff. I've only been for a year or something,
Yeah.
but I do understand the social structure of like you can tell eventually who doesn't like who's
Yeah.
not booking who does the VFWs, who does in the city, like that eventually makes sense.
Yes, I get that. I think the undeniably funny thing is almost essential though at some point. I look at it as if you've been doing this and I've been doing it 2 years, and I hate when people try to tell me that
Yeah.
they know shit and I don't. I have a whole podcast of it.
You're like, God damn
I
it.
have like 50 episodes. If I'll even put it in the social. I'll put it back in the social realm. I don't want to hang out with people who I don't think are funny. That is part of it, and it's a selfish, awful thought. But I think the undeniably funny aspect of it is the most crucial part. I think if you've been doing it 4 or 5 years and you've been telling the same jokes you have the same tight 5 minutes, and I hear it every single open mic.
Yeah, and they're not going to go to like LA or New York, but they're definitely still going to get booked over you because they know X, Y, and Z.
Do you think so?
I mean, I've had conversations with people and like they'll like do that face at you and they'll be like, why are they booked? And they're like,
Interesting.
And you're
Yeah.
like, and then you figure like the longer you're in it, the more
Yeah.
like the dirt like gets lifted. And again, I don't even know like 9,000% of it, but eventually you figure stuff out and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And like, of course you're undeniably funny if you're going to go and have like a Netflix special and
Yeah,
stuff like
sure.
that. But we're in,
Yeah.
we're
It's
not
it's
in
a
one of those
different
scenes.
world.
It's a different
Yeah.
world right now. Like as far as like booking everything from what you watch, if you step back, it's like, yeah, you have to be funny, but like
Yeah.
you don't have to be the funniest person in the world right
do,
now.
Do either of those processes make you excited? Like when you look long term with stand up, are you excited by that premise?
I'm very apprehensive about it
Tell me why.
because like you can't get into your own head like this early, but at the same time you're like always have like 5 or 10 things you remember and like you have to eventually like do or figure out or have to talk to someone or ask about something. Like eventually there's gonna be a point where like I have to ask other people to put me on shows, and that's like my worst nightmare.
That is
I hate asking for things.
Is it just networking you don't like? Because
I
I'm on
Yeah.
the same page as you. That
Yeah.
part of it I can't stand, and I don't think if you really want to do stand up, I don't think you can really like that portion of it. The networking.
No, that can't
portion,
be your favorite part.
No way.
Absolutely not. And I don't think that is anyone's. Well, there's probably people who are better at marketing than they are stand up.
Yeah, for sure.
But then again, that's not, you could only get you so far, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I've looked at it as there has to be the art side and there has to be the business side, and you have to be in the middle. Like you have to have both ends. Derek
Yeah.
Knopf-Snyder sat there and he told me that. He said if you're too far to the art side, but you could have the best act in the world, but you're not getting booked for anything because you don't understand the business side
you're
as
not
well.
sending your stuff out and like asking people and like communicating.
And it's not a fun part, but it just seems, the more I'm learning about it, that part seems so essential. Having an Instagram following at this in 2019 seems like it,
can't not do it.
yeah, it seems essential.
Yeah.
It seems basic to actually getting, and it's just so funny because even when I started watching stand up and learning about the ins and outs of it, it's just such a different world than what it was.
Yeah. I mean, that part I'm not super concerned about because one of my biggest fears is like comics talk about like everything all the time, but it's like I don't want to jump the gun and like start marketing myself and then everyone's like, why? Like, why are you bothering? Like,
Interesting.
you have nothing to back it up yet.
I'm
So
same way.
like for me, I've just kind of like sat here and just I'm waiting until eventually like it's unavoidable, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I've kind of picked up on. Like until you absolutely have to have like people are asking you and like where do I find X, Y, and Z, then I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
I've kind of recently got over that. Like, and that's not saying like you need to get over it, right? But God damn it, Kayleigh. But
doing this wrong.
But I think the podcast has helped me out with that. I think whenever I jumped into it, I don't know. I don't think anybody said anything, but like I still felt like I maybe started it a little bit too early. Like I don't think I don't regret starting it when I did, but I started it. Even looking back at it, it's funny. Like I started it 11 months into doing comedy.
Oh wow!
Like, I'm gonna start a comedy podcast.
You're like,
11 months into doing it, right? It's kind
Let's chat.
It was kind of just a way to talk to people who've been doing it longer, who have been doing it a long time, and can actually help me and give me advice. But I've heard from multiple different people like, oh, there's another podcast.
But like,
town,
I
right?
also feel like you're really ballsy because you're like, I don't really like care. Like I care, and that's, you know, my Achilles tendon. Eventually, I have to get over that. But like, I don't want to piss anyone off. But also, like, I was just talking to Peter about this, how I'm so like envious and like think it's so awesome for like people like you or like Keon and, you know, the We Got Next guys and all of that who just, they're producing their own stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're going out there and they're like, you know what, screw it. Like we're going to do our own thing. And I think that's beyond cool. And also because it's like, it is such a competitive thing, even especially in this city right now, because it's, you know, blowing up, and it has been from what I've been told 50 times. Like it wasn't always like this. I'm like, I'm sorry I wasn't here.
I've heard it exactly 50 times.
I'm like, I wasn't here. But I just think that's awesome because you're doing what you like, and you're like, I'm not gonna wait around. Like I want to do it.
Yeah, I look at the We Got Next guys for that.
Yeah.
I mean, people complain, and I've said it on this a million times, but like people, you've
yeah.
heard this exact line. People complain about not getting booked for shit, and that's I think that's an insane thing. You can make your own stuff, and the We Got Next guys, to me, are the example of that in Pittsburgh. And the other thing that you said about like giving a shit about what people think, I care too much about what comics think. I care too much. Whenever I'm at an open mic, I care too much about what other comedians think. And Colin Chamberlain kind of took me to school on that in his episode. He's like, you need to care what the audience thinks.
Yeah.
That's it. And like, I understand like people getting booked for stuff and you want to be kind and everything. And and maybe being kind in the social setting is kind of disingenuous in the first place because you're just trying to get booked for shit. And that's not what I'm trying to do. But being funny for the audience, that's it.
Yeah.
Right?
As long as you're not like punching people off stage, like you're going to be fine.
Exactly.
Like, if you're not walking off stage and like slamming someone's wall, like I think you're okay.
Yeah. Do you care more about what comics think?
I care about, because again, like, because I've been in this not comic setting, but like the setting of like you're just kind of treading water in like the bottom for the most part. I'm very aware, or try to be aware, because again, every scene I'm sure is like this, but there's just layers all the time. And so the social scene is like a minefield because you don't know what. You don't know like who doesn't, you know, enjoy who doesn't book who, stuff like that. So like that's the part that I get anxious about, is like putting my foot in my mouth constantly.
I get it.
Like I understand that part more because I do understand the dynamic of like social standards and who should talk to who, but like I'm very scared that like I'm gonna piss off the wrong person
or say the wrong thing,
like obviously like I love going up and like having a good set, and you know if you do it in the ham bones and like you're okay for you get to live another week, like you're okay.
Exactly.
But like I do care what the audience thinks, you know, 10 times more. But like also if someone's in the room that's could book you, that's also in my head. I'm like, all right, but you're also here.
I understand that.
So.
Was there a time lag between when you wanted to start doing comedy and your first open mic?
I was, because I just listened to Derek's episode of this, and I was like driving my car and I was like, this is so sad, because he was like, I don't really get why you have to do stand-up classes, and I was like, yeah, I guess they're kind of dumb. I was like, thanks, Derek. Because, like, I did.
You did do a stand-up class?
I took the class with Colin.
No fucking way. I didn't know that.
Yes.
I thought you just
I tell people that all the time. They're like, oh, the face is the same across the board. They're like, why? And I'm like, so I just stopped telling people.
But what? But
because they're like, I don't get it. I was like, I don't get it either, I guess.
But I've heard two different theories on it. I've heard the theory of you just go into it cold.
Yeah.
You go into the open mics, which is what you talked about, which is why I couldn't believe you did a class, because of what you just told me. But I've heard the other end of the spectrum where it's you learn how to write a joke, which is a skill that you have to learn when you start doing open mics, because you're a funny person. Now you have to learn how you have to learn the art form.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, if God bless Colin, because he would the whole scope of it was literally like he would obviously give advice and maybe how to write a joke, but it did save you from like a decent amount of stuff, like move the mic stand. He's like, if I'm out of mic and I see that, he's like, I will find you, like move the freaking mic stand.
God.
Or like don't start a joke with a question. Like he gave us obviously really good advice and we promptly threw out the window because we're idiots. But the biggest, literally, I paid how much money for him to be like, go to the freaking mics.
Yeah.
Like that was it.
Part
like
of it.
I think that's why comics have an issue with it, because you can't. He can tell me to move the mic stand 57 times, but if I don't go to a mic and then don't learn that I have to move the mic stand, doesn't matter. So like, I still ended up going to like my first mic alone at like the Pleasure Bar.
Yeah.
God. Which
Aaron
great.
No,
that was Colin took over.
Hosting.
Yes,
Oh,
so it was like
fun.
Colin's like, "Oh, cool, you're here." I'm like, "Woo!"
Let me take a guess. You are the only one from your class still doing stand-up.
It was me and Peter.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So Peter,
it was me and Peter, and then everyone else is like, "This was a fun thing," and we're like, "Okay, so."
Also, again, see, this is how my time is completely warped. So did you start with Peter?
Yeah, me and Peter are like same.
What the fuck, man?
Same timeline.
How I thought Peter was like 5 months old.
What?
I swear to God, I enjoy Peter quite a bit.
I love Peter, and I remember him getting visibly like pissed at me because he didn't come out for a while, and then came out, and he was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "What?"
He was mad at you?
He was just like, "You got like light years better than the last time I saw you." I was like, "Yeah, you have to go to some fucking mics, dude."
Yeah.
Like,
what are you talking about?
I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, I'm not good. It's just if you go enough times, like eventually you figure some stuff out." But yeah, the class was just basically him yelling at us to go to mics.
Yeah, so it's more the little things that you took out of the class than anything.
And just having like a little more confidence.
Do you still use any material that you wrote in that class?
No, I really don't. I had the 7 minutes that we got there, and then I promptly started writing new shit. And I was like, which is the wrong thing to do, because Colin's like, "You'll just use that for a while," and I'm like, "That's nice," and just was like, "I don't want to use it anymore."
Oh, that's fun though.
Yeah,
because people rely on. I just talked about it. People rely on the same 5 minutes for a while, and I'm probably guilty of that for some jokes as well.
I should more.
You should?
I really should.
Why?
Because I don't have. I talk to Peter about this all the time. I don't have a set 5 or a set 10 or set anything right now, because I'm so new that I keep writing stuff, and I'm like, well, the stuff I wrote like a month ago was terrible. Like, it's all terrible, but like that was even worse terrible. So
well, I've been saying, because it was probably early December, I was like, I want new 2 to 3 minutes every month. If I can get a new solid, like fine 2 to 3 minutes, I'm fine with that. And that is so much more work than you think when you're starting. Like, if I told myself when I was starting out, okay, I'm going to have a tight 10 in the first month, that's fucking bananas. That's crazy.
In a month? Oh, my God. No. I'm happy that I'm writing, in my opinion, like, better-ish things, so I can replace it. Yeah. Like, I still have some stuff, but I have learned, like, to kind of realize if something's like good enough to not annoy the crap out of the comics with it anymore.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like, I'm bored of this. Like, I'm not gonna make anyone else listen to it.
Yeah.
I was like, I know what it is. I'll leave it. Like, and if I have to do it on a show, I was like, I'll tweak it the week before.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that so funny? Getting bored with your own material.
It's constant, and it happens. And I have to again get out of this habit, but it's happening quicker now. Or I'm like,
oh, fun.
I was like, you need to stick with this a little more, because if you have a show, I was like, you need to like know what you're talking about. But I'm like, it's happening like within a month. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
There's an agony to that sort of repetition, even if material is good.
Yeah,
I feel the same exact way. Like, I will get bored of saying something over and over again.
Yeah.
I actually shouldn't say even if it's good, because if something has really strong base and it's a strong premise, I'm fine saying that a lot until I get the tweaks out of it. I'm even going back through some of the material that I've been using for a year now and being like, oh, there's so much more that you can take from this. Whether it's you needing to sit down and just write more with it, or you need to say it more on stage to develop a pattern behind it and find more tags and find more little quirks with it. I'm fine with that. Like but it's when you're set on an idea is going to work and you say it 2 or 3 times, it's like, okay, I'm bored. I don't want to do
I've
that.
also thrown like stuff like that's the one great thing I will say is like that you did learn from the class is like even if you hate it, you don't have to keep doing it, but you have to write it down, leave it, and then come back later. Like I have a joke that I wrote during that class that I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I re-looked at stuff, and now I use it, and it freaking crushes. Yeah. But it's in a completely different, like, concept of a joke. Yeah. Like, a whole new thing, but I'm talking about the same exact stuff that I wrote a year ago.
Is it more just confidence with stuff that you know is funny?
It's more of, like, being able to put it in a different premise, per se. Like, the one I have now is, like, my ex-boyfriends are trash people, and, like, one of them was racist or whatever. But, like, when I was saying it a year ago, it was like, he's racist. And then I realized after a year of, like, being out here, you can't say that on stage. People will get mad at you and not the invisible person that you're talking about. So they're not on your side anymore. No, they're like, well, you dated him. You're like, well, that's not okay. Right. So I found a different way to like do it and make it funny. Yeah. And like you don't have that perspective at the beginning. You're like, but this is what really happened. Yeah. And you're like, so you need the whole story. And
but it's like, not an art.
They're
form.
Like, but that's not funny.
Yeah, it's not funny. Exactly. Yeah. I have a bit about Chinese food that I did. I did it one time during my it was my first open mic. I did this like Chinese food bit. And did not go over well because it was my first open mic. I didn't know how to tell a joke. I was just rambling. I've said it probably in the room to you before. And it's like fun. Like it gets a decent laugh. But I did it my first open mic and then I abandoned it for a year. And then I did it during that improv competition in March. And it fucking killed. Heard it. It fucking destroyed. And that it was a change of things to me. It was like, no, this is funny. Yeah. But I'm taking what I've learned for a year and applying jokes to it. Yeah. There are stories that I have that I did early on, and they were just ramblings. And now I'm going back and being like, okay, this is where a joke could come from. Yeah, this is where a callback could be, and it'd be really funny. And there's stuff like that you just have to go to open mics and learn along the way. And you have to do shows, and you have to develop a craft.
And I think the important thing, too, which I think some people are split on, but like me personally, is like, sometimes you need a show with an audience that wants to be there. Like obviously if your jokes aren't killing like at all, like they're just terrible, that's something to be said. But if there's something that you're like, I know it's smart, like I know it's there, and you just are like freaking bombing all these things, and you go to like a legitimate show that you're booked on, like at the arcade, and you go and people get it, you're like, I'm not crazy. Correct. And that happens like once in a blue moon. Like if it's terrible, it's terrible, and you'll know that. But like if you want to hold on to a joke that you know is smart, or like there's something there, like sometimes I'll do that. Correct. And just keep it for like a show. Yeah. And I'll be like, no, I'm smart. Like screw you, moose. Like
it's that confidence level. Completely. Yeah. Have your parents seen you do comedy?
Yes.
They have. Mm-hmm. Did they see it in Connecticut?
Yeah, they saw it at the Norlight show.
Oh, God, yeah, they did. Was that their first time seeing you?
Well, my dad has been out and saw me do 15 minutes, which was the longest time I'd ever done. We just had a conversation about 15 minutes. That was a long time, and I've not done it since. But he's watching me play sports forever, so he, like, saw my first 10 and was like, oh, you were killing it. He's like, and then I saw, like, your literal face, like, change, like, not having enough material. Oh, he saw he knew. He was like, not doing well. He was like, he knew I was doing really well and crushing it, and then he could like, he's like, you got through it and it was fine, but he's like, also you don't have that. I was like, I do not have that. Oh God, yeah. But he was fine. My mom came to the Parkway, but my mom, like at the time, because I told her I was doing that shower joke, and I kind of like prepared her, and so I think she wasn't quite completely sober when she saw it. She was fine. Then we did it in Connecticut. She was sober, and my whole extended family came, and she was like,
oh, Jesus.
Like all my cousins and like uncles and everything. And I was like, cool.
is parents or people who are close to you seeing your act, does that put you on edge a little bit? Like, does that make you nervous? And I'll answer mine. Yes, when my parents are at a show, there is a different energy to me. Like, there's definitely a different vibe. Like, it's all. I say it all the time. But the improv competition was the first time my parents heard me say the word fuck, and because I just grew up very conservative, very religious. Like, and it was parents seeing my act, people who raised me. Yeah, that's a bizarre thing. Was it kind of that way for you, or no?
I think because, like, before I came here, I was in a very different, like, mindset world or whatever. So,
like, how?
Not doing super great. So, like, think when I was like, hey, I found something, like, I'm passionate about and love and everything, they were really supportive and happy about it. And also, I kind of was straightforward, and I was like, this is what I'm going to be doing for hopefully forever. Yeah. So just buckle up. I was like, if you think I can get it. You had
that conversation.
Yeah, I told both my parents. I was like, if you think I'm comfortable saying this now, I was like, wait, how many years? I was like, it's not gonna get better. Yeah. So I was like, if this is what I think I can get away with now, like, you might as well just listen to it. Like, it's not gonna, get more tame.
Yeah, but was that a side of you that they ever saw?
Oh yeah, no,
it was.
Yeah, I'm not like a different person in any really realm of my life. There's not. I'm not like putting.
You don't compartmentalize yourself with different people.
I mean, I guess the only place where I'm a little like low key is I try very hard not to like get drunk around comics, but that's
interesting. Yeah,
like my only thing, and it's happened once in a while. Actually. It makes me anxious, but like other than that, like my friends across the board, I'm probably a little more outgoing. Not in the comedy scene.
Not in the comedy scene.
Because I know my place, and I'm not the one, running bits at the fucking bar and shit. So.
Yeah, I get that. I'm kind of the same way because it almost still feels like a professional environment.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre thing, actually.
It is very weird to watch, like, all the, like, one of my favorite things to do, especially when I started, like, getting more, like, people to talk to me, is one of my favorite things to do is watch, like, Ray, Colin, and Seneca. They're like, they freaking can go for decades just talking to themselves at the bar. And like, that's really fun to me. And like, that's what I do with my friends. And I love that. And like, I do it with my friends at home and here. And like, I'm the person that like is doing that. But it's, you take it down in the scene.
Yes.
You have to, because you're not the ringleader.
Yeah. But again, that's like the social, that's like the networking thing. A little bit.
Yeah.
And that's also being very close with people.
Yeah, it's being close to people and having that group of friends, and also knowing that there's different groups of friends. Yeah. Like now we're starting to have in our class like chunks and all that stuff. Right. And so that's different.
And we're starting to see new people come in too.
Yes, there's new people. Me and Luke just had this conversation. It was really funny because I was like, oh, there's like so many new like people, whatever. I was like, oh, who's like the new girl? And he's looked at me dead in the eyes. He's like, still you. And I was like,
oh my God.
I was like, fuck you, God. Luke. And he's like, well, think about it. And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, you're right. You know what? I don't like this game.
You think that's true?
I don't think it's true in the sense that, like, there are new girls, like Danny Cassandra and, like, Vanessa, I can't remember Claire, Vanessa St. Clair.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So there's a crop of new, women in the scene. It's just, like, women that are coming out in the same exact mics as me or, like, the same amount as me. They aren't. So then people aren't seeing that.
Gotcha.
And Luke, who, like, popped up a month later. He's like, oh, I didn't do it for months, so I just see you. And I'm like,
interesting.
I was like, and that like breaks my heart a little bit because it's like, I want more people. Like I'm constantly, I think you've definitely been at tables with me where I'll look around in the conversation. I was like, can just one woman comic just walk in? I was like, if I have to hear one more of your stupid ass fucking dick jokes. And it's not that I don't mind it. I truly enjoy you and like Peter and Keon and everything. But I'm like, guys, we need someone else. I was like, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah. Do you think the conversation about women in comedy, especially in a local scene, do you think that's overdone? And here's the reason that I'm saying, here's the only reason I'm saying this is because I cannot stand on a podcast where the first thing that you talk about, I talked about it with Amanda.
I heard Amanda's one, yeah. And
Amanda was can't stand it. Like, and I don't know if Amanda was like into this question, but I cannot stand when people are like, what's it like to be a woman in comedy? It's like okay, I shouldn't say it's the same thing because there are differences, but I think you should just be judged on how funny you are.
I think it's patronizing because it's saying like that's the first thing that you have to bring to the table. But I also think, especially at least in my experience, like I've never had anything like what Amanda was talking about, like anything to that extent. But also Amanda has been like this huge advocate for me in the scene because things will happen that like it doesn't even occur to me. That's like not mean or anything, but like just not. I was introduced to like a comic at one point and they're like, oh, you're really pretty. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. And Amanda like literally moved in and was like, she's a comic.
Oh
like
my
she
God.
does stand up. And I got on that show last night because someone dropped out because she had advocated and was like, no, she does stand up and she's very good. You should put her on this show. But I didn't have like the voice to say that. And I was just very like flattered someone thought I was pretty.
Like didn't recognize
but it didn't occur to me that no one would see me as a comic because all the other people around were comics. Yeah. And they knew that I was a comic, but I never met that person.
Gotcha.
And I was like, oh. Or like even the other night, someone said like me and Amanda were standing talking to these guys and they're like, you were two of the funniest ladies in the room. And I was like, oh, thank you. And Amanda's like, no, no, that's like, you should not be talked to that way, Kayleigh. And I'm like, oh, and I like recognize in other aspects of my life, but I haven't quite gotten it in stand up.
Yes.
That I shouldn't be talked to.
It's because we haven't been doing it as long. Like Amanda's been doing it for years.
She can recognize immediately. And she doesn't have to say that to me. She doesn't have to help me. And that's why I appreciate her. She doesn't have to do that.
Yeah. Well, Amanda's great.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Amanda's fantastic. Amanda's been nothing but kind to me.
Yeah. She's fantastic. But I think on my level, like I don't find me personally the question that awful. I think I don't think it's pertinent. I personally don't mind it because I think there is a stark difference. And I think in my personal opinion, I haven't been in that long, trying to ignore that can almost be detrimental to the conversation we're trying to have.
That's a great point.
Because I've been even in the year, like I was in a situation where like there was like a random, I think I told you, it's like a random fight started in the middle of my set because some guy was defending me but didn't defend any other comic. And it was like, cool. And like that's a difference and it sucks.
Yeah.
And like no guy is dealing with that difference.
Well, no. Yeah.
So
it's just I can't stand the question.
I think the question's dumb. I think there's ways to ask it where it puts the onus on like, is it like do men in the scene treat you differently? Not me as the interviewer, not me as a person, but like do you find you're in situations where like other people are treating you differently?
Right.
Because like comedy in general is universal.
Yes.
But how you're treated in the scene and how you're treated elsewhere and how other people react to you saying you're a woman in comedy, that's the situation.
Yeah. And you see it more than I do. Again, it's that same exact thing. I don't think I would ever walk up to a girl at a bar at this point and be like, you're very pretty and be in that sort of situation. But I understand what you're saying. It just feels demeaning to me. It just feels gross. Like as you're telling me that story, I'm like, this is fucking gross.
Like it just irks me. And I think I also was very like prickly when I first started because like I had heard horror stories and I was like, oh, it's gonna be terrible. And then Pittsburgh's great, obviously. Like no one in our scene is doing anything terrible. No one's bad or anything. I've always been supportive and lovely, but there's just like the audience members or like people who don't usually interact with you and you're like, what is happening?
I get it.
Like, you don't get it.
Well, okay.
No. That's what I meant. I meant I don't. Like, no, I meant like me. I was like, I don't understand why like it has to happen.
Yeah, I get it.
Not you.
I understand what you're saying.
Not you.
Well, we're at 50. How are you in general?
In general,
I'm good. Are you good?
I'm good.
Everything in life good?
Yeah.
That's great.
Happy to be
I'm
here.
happy for you to be here.
I am. I'm happy for this question.
The next question? Oh my God,
I listen to your
I'm
podcast
excited.
all the time.
Okay, so this is the last question that I have for you. So Kayleigh, you're at a bar. Oh, the reason that I'm asking this is because for first-time listeners, I don't think I've ever addressed the audience
Hello,
before.
first-time listeners. Welcome.
So my girlfriend Monica asked me this question. Who you met Monica?
Love Monica.
Oh, that's great.
She's great.
So her friends asked me this question, kind of like to test the waters, and they did ask me this too. Like it was a serious thing.
And you're like, I've known you for 5 minutes. Cool.
I kind of did. I knew her for 4 days. And her friends are like,
that's woman in a nutshell. We're like, all right.
That was like within the first 5 minutes of meeting them, they asked me this question.
Jesus.
And they were like kind of testing the waters. So you're at a bar. Night is going bad. The bartender was revealed to be the last remaining member of the KGB in the U.S. Bathroom in the back has quicksand, has swallowed up 8 or 9 lovely Asian people. So it's a bad night.
I have so many questions about these friends right now.
They didn't say that stuff.
Oh, you're adding.
No,
I have so many questions about you right now.
The question was more like, what song would you sing?
And you're like, actually, there's going to be quicksand now.
But it is karaoke night, and it's your job, Kayleigh Dumas, to save the entire night. What song are you singing?
Song I'm singing poorly is Whitney Houston's "Wanna Dance with Somebody."
Oh, that's great.
Don't know the lyrics except for the chorus.
That's why you have the thing. The TVs are still working.
Oh, okay. The TVs are working. It's the
it
quicksand
is still
taking
working.
over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They haven't shut the place down. Why?
Because it's my favorite song to dance
Is
to.
it?
It's if it comes on, it's like it's terrible. It's not great. If I'm not sober and the song comes on, I am somewhere dancing.
That's great.
It's my favorite.
I love that answer. I don't think I've ever had anybody repeat an answer. I've had one person say "Any Way You Want It" by Journey, and then I heaved them out that window.
You're
like the worst
You've
song.
blown up the bar at this point.
It's the worst answer. That is the worst answer.
I
that you
think
could
closing
give.
time would be the worst
answer.
answer.
That's much worse.
If you're trying to turn the night around,
answer.
you're like, nope.
Do you know? Okay, I'm gonna tell you this because your episode's gonna come out after his. Do you know what my song was, by chance? I've said it on a couple episodes.
I think I remember hearing it and being like, why? But I don't remember.
Mine was "Time After Time" by Cyndi Lauper.
Yep, that was like,
that was it.
Because it's a slow ass song.
Yeah, but it's lovely.
But
it's a lovely piece.
No one's making love in the bar. They want to like have fun.
Yeah, but you'd want to be after a night like this. You'd want the energy to come back into the room.
Do you know what "Time After Time" reminds me of?
What?
Napoleon Dynamite.
It shouldn't. Time After Time?
Yes, when they're dancing at their awkward prom at the end.
That's in Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite is like set in a normal school in a normal timeline, but they're like still haven't made it to like the thousands.
Correct. Yes.
So all of their music is back then.
Oh, that's fun. I swear to God, I just thought about Napoleon Dynamite today because I turned on that Can't Heat song that Napoleon dances to.
Oh my God.
I love that song.
I couldn't tell you the name of that
so
song, but
much.
if it came on, I'd be like, oh
Can't Heat. And then you start dancing to.
No, you need to go watch that. It's
I've
not
seen
a
it a million
festive,
times,
upbeat song, Nate.
Okay. Well, I love it.
Well,
Well, here's the reason that I told you that, because your episode's going to come out. You're 51. My brother is 50. And
I forgot you
to
have
talk about
siblings.
campaign and stuff. But I asked him that question. He's like, "Oh, I have literally the best answer. Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper." I'm like,
are you
I'm like,
effing kidding
me?
me?
You know why that's funny, right? He's like, "No." I'm like, "You're serious?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's my fucking answer." He's like, "No way."
How far
we have
apart
the same
are you
answer.
guys?
4 years. He's 4 years younger than I am.
You're the oldest?
I'm the oldest. Yeah, I just have one younger brother.
You're
Why is
just-
that crazy?
I don't know why I thought you were an only child.
Mm-mm. I got one younger brother.
I didn't realize you were an older child too, because so am I. But like everyone's like, oh yeah, you're an older child.
You have how many
I have
siblings?
2 siblings.
You have 2, and they're both younger.
Mm-hmm.
Are they in college?
One is graduating college now, so we're all a year and a half apart. So it's me,
Gotcha.
year and a half. So I have a 4-year
interesting.
gap.
Your parents just got it out in 3 years.
It's because we
Christ.
entertained each other. They would lock us outside. Yeah,
They would just lock it.
not lock us, but like
Yes.
we just by the time
Go.
we hit like 5 and up, they're like, get out.
Go.
They
Have fun.
we just were each
Be
other's friends.
children.
I don't
That's
care.
great.
It's the 90s. Don't care.
I have so much to learn.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was like, see if you cut off, because I was like, I have so many questions about the fact that you have a magical brother after I've known you.
I have a magical
for
brother.
a year.
I have a magical brother. Did you know he's already lost the political campaign?
And I've done what?
We've done nothing.
Since I'm 25. As soon as you said he was younger, I was like, well, fuck me. I was like, I've done jack. Wait, he's
21. It's
I
true.
have so many questions.
I'll answer all of them for you.
Please.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
Your show.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
This show?
Your
the one you're on?
Well, that too, but the
Oh,
show.
my show. It's like, that's so nice of you.
Everyone listen to the podcast you're already listening to. It's very cool.
Yes. You have
yeah.
the show on February 16th.
Mm-hmm. In the Saxon
Where is
Club.
it?
It's in
what
Youngstown,
area?
Ohio.
Yes, it is.
In the Saxon
What time does
Club.
it start?
8 p.m.
Oh, you got it. I was going to be so mad if you didn't
No, I
every
remember
beat.
because I had to write it in my planner because I'm 80.
That's hilarious.
Because I also remember asking you what in God's name is a Saxon Club.
It's like a German club.
That's what I said. I was like, so is it like a German VFW? And
What
you're
is
like,
Dumas?
very French.
Is that
Dumas.
Dumas.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Have I been saying it wrong?
It's the French version is Dumas, and then
Dumas.
my name is Dumas.
Okay.
And then
Just want to say it. Make sure I wasn't saying
any
it wrong.
other hosts in the state is Dumas.
Dumas.
If they're feeling sassy.
That's hilarious. February 16th. Anything else you want to promote?
No, you're a lovely person, and thank you for having me.
That's wonderful. You get to sign us off. Is that what you'd like to No, say
Wait,
something else.
What I get to
You
say
get to
something
sign
else.
us off. I've had people swear at me. People
Swear.
say inspirational things.
Didn't Phil talk about milk for some reason?
Phil Foran said fish sticks, eat them.
I hate him. Jesus. If you ever get a cat, please name him Wilbur.
Name your cat Wilbur. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would die for you.